Yeah, maybe it's just a me thing. So can we, together, you guys?
No, just like in Florida. What was in Florida? That big crane came,
the crane.
And you
want to go crazy.
Crane?
I actually made it real close. I actually made it real close. So
Yeah.
obviously you guys can see that I like to do tempting things. So yeah, we're gonna be petting the sheep.
Yeah, and I'm in the back. I'm filming, but I'm like, come on now, Dion, come back.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Let's go.
Super excited about this video. If you're new to us and we're
new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it. Let's hear it.
The first tip is understanding the legal blood alcohol limit for when you're driving. This is important because in Norway it's very, very low. If you're on vacation, chances are you'll be having a few drinks, maybe with dinner, maybe at lunch, but you should know ahead of time that the legal limit is just 0.02.
Ooh, Jack.
And you could be over that limit after a single drink. If you compare that to most states in the US, which is 0.08, and the UK also 0.08, you can see why this is a critical thing to be aware of. The penalties are very harsh, and if you get caught out, it could completely ruin your vacation. Tip number 2 is to be prepared to pay a lot of money in tolls. As you can see from this invoice that we received at the end of our trip, over 9 days we incurred 26 different toll charges. This worked out to be roughly $10 US per day of driving. Not outrageously high, but it's an extra expense nonetheless.
Not bad. Oh, look at it.
Number 3 is one of the more unexpected things I learned about Norway while driving around the country, and that is how interesting the tunnels can be. Now I know what you're thinking, this is normally incredibly mundane and boring, but by the 3rd or 4th day I started to notice that no two tunnels seemed to be alike. It was almost like a network of fingerprints all around Norway where no two were alike, and strangely I started to look forward to going into tunnels. But I'm very aware how strange it is to say that out loud. We have 8 more tips still to go, but if you're enjoying the video so far, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We release a new video every week which will hopefully inspire your next road trip or travel destination.
Hey, listen, I don't know how many of you guys actually get to experience Norway like this on a regular basis, but I mean, y'all sightings is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, y'all stuff is really nice.
Yeah, it's
really
like
nice.
something off of a movie. You know, we've never, like, we're from the South.
Yeah, we ain't got that many mountains like that.
Yeah, so for mountains, we have to travel out of state. Well, Texas have mountains.
We have a lot of hills and
Maybe
dips.
close to the
Depending on where
borders.
you at, though. Depending on where you at, yeah.
Yeah, well, we generally don't see mountains and
don't.
things like that a lot, so it's interesting for us to see.
Number 4 will come as no surprise that in an expensive country like Norway, renting a car will be a huge part of your vacation costs. To make sure you get the best deal, we recommend 2 things. First, make sure any rental you get comes with unlimited kilometers or miles. This can really amp up the cost of your rental if you drive long distances. The second is to use a comparison website like rentalcars.com. This will scan a number of different rental providers and give you a lot of choice so you can select the best value deal for you. We've included a link in the description.
Waterfalls and everything.
Number 5 will give you a window into what kind of wildlife you'll expect driving around Norway. Sheep. Expect at some point you're going to come across
sheep, because sometimes, like, when we driving out here, you may see some cattle, you might see a horse or 2. A lot of time people pull over, you know what I'm saying, they do their little feeding, or they take some pictures, or, you know, they just watch. Like, is that the same with the sheep? Can you guys pull over, pet the sheep, or maybe they just like wild, or
just a sheep that you don't know?
Yeah, just a sheep you don't know. You know, some people love sheep. See, you can't talk because we saw a video. It was in Australia.
They was trying
Them boy had a huge python anaconda snake on the top of the roof going in their tree. And it was glamour. It was just like glorifying it. It's like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, nobody got time for
no
big snake like that.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't see too much of an issue with a random sheep feeding moment, you know?
I'll look at someone else feeding the sheep, but I'm not feeding no sheep.
Do you remember that time we was just leaving the hotel And when we was leaving the hotel, we saw this. No, we was approaching the hotel, and we saw this big horse. That big old horse.
And we pulled on side the road to try to get the kids to see it.
And I was about to go approach it, and I was like, nah. I mean, y'all, that sucker was huge. I'm not approaching the animal, I don't know. That sucker was huge. Okay, maybe it's just a me thing. So can we, together, you guys?
No, just like in Florida. What was in Florida? That big crane came.
The crane.
And you
want to go
crazy. Hey, crane?
I actually made it real close. So obviously you guys can see that I like to do tempting things. So yeah, we're gonna be petting the sheep.
Yeah, and I'm in the back. I'm filming, but I'm like, come on now, Dion, come back.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing some random crazy stuff. Let's get it.
Sheep just standing on the road, very near the road, or perhaps just hanging out in a car park. Either way, they can be a bit of a hazard if you're not careful. So be patient with the sheep. They're adorable. Let them go on their way, and they won't bother you.
They just walking in the car park. Oh my God.
I ain't like they about to go shopping.
I've got a picture with them now.
Yes, you have.
I don't remember.
It sounded like that.
Go in there.
It's just going in there.
Number 6. Expect to take a lot of ferries. When you're driving around the fjords, there can't be bridges and tunnels to get you everywhere you need to go. A lot of the road connections are done with these large ferries where you can drive straight onto them and they take you back and forth across the water channels. And while this will slow you down, it's actually a fairly seamless process and we didn't come across any major holdups. But you do need to factor this into your driving time when you're planning out your itinerary. But sometimes
that's the only thing about a ferry. The experience is cool and all, but when you when it becomes your norm, you start to look at time different. It's like, yeah, we gotta get on the ferry today, bro. It's gonna take all day to get where we got. You know what I'm saying? It's like
start thinking, should I just go around?
Right. You start looking for other ways to get to your location quicker. But other than that, a first time experience, few weeks experience, yeah, people fall in love with the ferry.
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a welcome break from the car so you can get out, stretch your legs, enjoy the view and the breeze in your hair. It's a very nice inside area with big windows so you can enjoy the view without all the cold wind like I'm copping out here. Plus a cafe, bathrooms, all that. While we're on the topic of potential delays, tip number 7 is expect a lot of roadworks on very narrow roads. Sometimes this means there'll be a whole lane of traffic blocked while they let traffic through on another side. This was the biggest cause of delays that we encountered on our road trip, and they were harder to predict on your navigation apps as well. So you might need to give yourself a reasonable buffer if you're in a hurry or have an inflexible deadline like a flight you have to make at an airport. Tip number 8. Speed limits are not always appropriate for the conditions. We were lucky that the vehicle that we rented had a speed limit display on the dashboard. This made it easy to keep track of what the limit was wherever we went. Sometimes the speed limit was much higher than what it would have been safe to drive at given the conditions. There's a lot of bends in the road or variable conditions of the road itself.
Where is the big cities?
Where we at? I know where we at, but where we at with it, like, because this is really like outside limits.
Yeah, I would love to see like the city life.
Now don't get us wrong, this is mad nice.
Yeah, if
this
you
is nice.
Get away and you know.
But after a few attempts, it's like time consuming.
Yeah,
like, we gotta go around all these mountains again today.
Where are the people?
Where the folk at? Where everybody living at?
Especially in bad weather, that makes it worthwhile to just slow down a little bit and take your time. Staying safe when you're doing long hours on the road should be your top priority. And that brings us to tip number 9. And that is that Norwegians are incredibly patient and courteous drivers. Can you say the same thing about the drivers in your hometown?
No.
I certainly can't.
No,
Road rage, beeping your horn, all of those things are just not cool. To give one example, I was driving down what I thought was a deserted road, and just before one of the famous Norwegian tunnels, there was a small turn-off for something that we thought we wanted to stop and take a look at. This was a last-minute snap decision, and I slowed right down to see whether there was room for me to pull the car off the road. What I didn't realise is that there was a car right behind me. He sat there patiently and didn't make a sound, and I felt quite bad when I realised that he'd been sitting there for at least 10 seconds waiting for me to move. I waved at him to offer some form of apology, and once I moved out of the way, he just drove past without ever making a sound.
I'm liking the patience. I'm liking that.
For tip number 10, we're going to move on to something a bit more practical, and that is paid parking. When inside the major cities and towns, there will be a lot of paid parking. A lot of it is very obvious inside major parking stations, but on the street it can be more difficult to spot whether you have to pay for a parking spot or not. So memorize these two words, mort av gift. Forgive my Norwegian pronunciation there, but it essentially means you can park there for a fee. Tip number 11 is that some streets will barely even be streets. You're at the mercy of Google Maps or whatever navigation app that you use, and will be especially prone to very narrow streets or potentially ending up in someone's front yard in the narrow streets of the cities and towns. This particular overgrown back alley just looked like a normal street on the navigation app, and I remain grateful we were able to get out of there without hitting anything, anyone, or scratching the rental car. Now I wanted to give you one final bonus tip to prepare you for driving around Norway. And that is to keep as much flexibility in the timing of your itinerary as possible. There are a lot of really well-known sites that you can mark off on a map and tick off one by one on your road trip. But some of the best stuff you'll just find on the side of the road unexpectedly, or from driving down a street you just like the look of. You will get the best out of your Norway experience by being open-minded to what you're going to discover and having the flexibility of time to be able to follow wherever your nose takes you. Because not everything is in a guidebook or a YouTube video. And nothing beats discovering a hidden gem that was unexpected that ends up becoming your favourite part of the trip.
Man.
Norway is beautiful. I like it, but I could only be on the countryside for so long.
Nah, I feel that.
Where's the city? What are things y'all like to do? What do we need to discover about Norway?
I don't know why. I just can't get crabbing in my head.
Crabbing?
Yeah. Because, like, whenever he was mentioning about putting over to the side of the road, about the patience time, it's like, when we do that in Louisiana, we put it over, we can go crabbing.
Right.
Or do, like, a little small fishing, experience, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I just kept getting in my head the whole time.
Y'all let us know. All right. So Norway looks beautiful.
It does.
We'd love to discover more about it. Driving, it seems like a place we would have to drive.
100%. You can't get an Uber to go where you going. Uber's not getting on ferry and say, yeah, I'm going to check. Oh, no, it's a check for real.
Right.
You're going to get paid that day. Ooh.
Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request forms in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.